Hi, welcome to the Property Educator. My name's Brad Howard. What I'd like to talk you through today is the employment effect. Many people think that property is driven by one sole factor, but I see there's many factors and some of them are a lot stronger than the others. And this factor I see is the employment. What I want to give you today an example of a place that's really experienced this factor, and it's really highlighted how important this factor is. And that's in Perth, Western Australia. Yes, Perth has been through the resources boom, but because of that resources boom, that has really driven employment, either in a positive or a negative way. And I'd just like to show you today how that affects the property market at the same time. So what I've got up here is just a line. That's the zero line. So when we're saying that zero, that means property is travelling at no percent increase in a year. So I'm going to walk you through a period that sort of led from the mining boom to the bust in Perth. Back in Perth in 2007, the unemployment level was 3%. So maybe if I just put this down, 2007, unemployment 3%. Now 3% unemployment almost means that the state is fully employed. It's a really tough level for employers trying to find new staff. That is an extremely low level of unemployment. So because the unemployment was so low, one thing we notice, I'll also indicate to you interest rates at that time. And I'll make that as IR. Interest rates at the time were up around about the 9% that people were paying for their home loan on interest rates. So they're very high considering today's market. So interest rates were high, but unemployment was extremely low. We went through one of the biggest booms in history at that time, and we found employment, the property values went up 60% in that 1 year alone. A massive increase, very much out of the ordinary, but you would say a 20 to 30% growth in a year is also extremely high, so that was way up there. But as you notice, it was very, very high. Certainly not a negative. Then we go to 2008, the GFC. The after effect of the GFC in October 2008, then we look at the 2009 figures. We look at 2009, we see that the interest rate, because of the GFC and the government trying to cushion the blow, they dropped interest rates. So interest rates were down around about the 7% interest rates. So they dropped back. Unemployment went up. So we saw the unemployment figure go up, and that went up to around about 5% at that time. So the unemployment's gone up, interest rates have dropped. Some people might say, oh, property should go up. But property actually fell. And during that period, it actually fell to a negative for the year. So it was under this line. Only a small negative, but around about 2%, negative 2% the property market went to. Then we move along to 2014. Unemployment at that point in time, things were on the recovery path. Everything was moving along again in the Perth. The mining boom had picked up again. We seemed to be over the whole global financial situation. And property, let's see where that went. Interest rates, I have dropped my texter, which I'll just pick up. But the interest rates, at that point in time, we was still benefiting from the fact that the Reserve Bank was keeping interest rates low to keep spending ticking along. So they had dropped even further to down around the 6% mark. We then had unemployment in WA had then dropped right back to 4%. And then what happened with the property market? We saw it grow. Now it only grew 8%, but compared to that, 8% is a mark that traditionally over the 100 years they say on average property grows 8%. So it was back on line with a normal average, a nice comfortable growth path. Now we look at 2016, midway through. where is the Perth property market now in comparison to our unemployment? Well, our interest rates have continued to drop. Some people picking up interest rates on a mortgage around 4.5%. Unemployment though, in WA, in Perth in particular, has crept up to around the 6%. Now when you look at that figure you think, oh, that's not that much higher, but I will tell you something that's really interesting. Unemployed, you only count as unemployed if you are registering and applying through Centrelink for unemployment benefits. Now, one thing that's happened in Perth, there's been a huge layoff in the mining bust of a lot of white collar workers. Many of those white collar workers have received redundancies, are carrying them through while they're looking for other jobs, or they can't apply for Centrelink. So we actually think that unemployment figure is probably much higher than that, simply because there's a lot of people unemployed who can't be counted as unemployed through the traditional figures. So unemployment is 6% plus, I would suggest at this point in time. Yet we're at record low interest rates. We normally say, hey, that should trigger great buying and growth in property. However, we're back down to the negative or zero growth. Obviously it's not a full year yet, so we haven't got the full year figures, but it's not tracking well. So as you can see, not just one dimension can affect property market, but when we look at unemployment, you can see the unemployment is what's driving the property Perth market up and down, much greater than what interest rates are. So I look upon that and look upon it as the employment effect. And that's something very important to look at when you're investing in property in what particular area. Look carefully at the unemployment figures to determine, have you got a growth path coming or is it going into a negative path? Thanks, I appreciate your time. Be time rich and have a great day.